Hey guys, welcome to today's Vehicle Visionary. Today I've borrowed this 2022 version of the Chevrolet Trailblazer from my friends at Red River Chevrolet. This is the RS trim level, and I'll list all of the trim levels on the screen and their base prices for you so you can know where they start. And of course, if you want to know more about this particular model, make sure to check out the link down in the description of this video. As long as it's in inventory at Red River Chevrolet, you can check that out to cover some of the features we don't talk about today to keep the video from being too terribly long. This is only the second generation of the Trailblazer, and for 2022, here's what's new. You'll find satellite radio is now standard on all trim levels. There is an available trailering package, and the base L trim level is no longer available. You will find that the Trailblazer offers the latest technology and safety features. There is an active model that brings some light off-roading capabilities, and that is something we're going to take a look at in a future video. So if you're not subscribed, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon so that you know when that episode comes out. And out of the multiple colors that are available for the exterior of these 22 Trailblazers, this is crimson metallic on this particular model, but if you plan on buying one, tell me what color you would prefer. It also has jet black interior with red accents, but around the air conditioning vents, you'll find that also on the shifter and a few other places throughout the interior. Of course, this being the RS or Rally Sport trim level, you would expect it to have a rather sporty look. And of course, LED headlights, LED daytime running lights, you're going to find LED tail lights. And since people always ask me, are there turn signal indicators built into the side view mirrors? Not on the RS trim level, although these of course are power heated side view mirrors. Kind of hard to believe anything needs to be heated right now, although it is a rather cool 79 degrees here in Northwest Louisiana today. It's cooled down a little bit, not a whole lot. As we look at the overall exterior design, of course, you're going to find that Chevrolet badge up here, the upper and lower grills that really bring a nice balance to the front end. A very nice look. 18-inch high gloss wheels here that fit this trim level very well. As you can see, we'll just take a quick look at the exterior. And when you compare this to, say, the Ford EcoSport, you've got the 1.3 liter engine under the hood with a CVT transmission. And one thing that I found very interesting as I drove from the dealership over here to my filming location, this is probably one of the best made CVTs that I've experienced. It didn't have some of those typical nuisances that you often deal with the CVT transmission, to the point that I honestly forgot that's what this model has. That's good news. Good job, Chevrolet. Now under the hood here is the 1.3 liter turbocharged engine, and a lot of people are going to say it's underpowered. The horsepower to weight ratio is really not that bad, so depending on where you drive, it's going to get the job done. It gets up to speed well. I haven't had any problems, and being a high performance enthusiast, for me to say it's not bad, that says a lot. So you might say, well, Tom, tell us what those numbers are. 155 horsepower, 174 pound-feet of torque, and like I said, you've got that continuously variable transmission, or what's called a shiftless transmission. You really have to experience this one to understand when I say that it just behaves better than any other I've experienced before. Here's the biggest advantage, in my personal opinion, to having something like this under the hood of your Trailblazer. Gas mileage, 29 miles per gallon estimated city, 33 out on the highway. According to Chevrolet, when you combine those together, it's going to be 31 miles per gallon altogether. So if you already have your hands on one of these 22 models of the Trailblazer with this same engine under the hood, tell me down in the comments, what gas mileage are you currently getting? Now there really isn't a whole lot I can do to compare generations, obviously, being that this is the second generation of the Trailblazer, but I must say, the original Trailblazer that debuted as the first generation was a little more boxy. I really like the look here, even though it's a little bit smaller model. But Still has a nice kind of sporty look to it, something you would obviously expect with the RS, or if you didn't know, Rally Sport trim level. But I like the combination of the crimson and the black here that you have on the roof, and of course that's going to be white when we take a look at the Active. I think that looks even better. Just, I don't know, just grabs more attention that way. And of course you're going to have the same color here, the black on the mirrors. Passive entry right here when you have the remote on your person. You walk up and just hit that button and it locks and or unlocks the interior. Of course, taking a look at the remote on the screen, everything you would likely expect to see there, including remote start, something that I think is a very nice feature, especially when it comes to getting started first thing in the morning. You can let the vehicle warm up, or maybe I should say cool off during this time of the year, because it is rather warm. Another advantage here when we talk about comparison between the Trailblazer and the EcoSport is going to be found back here with the rear cargo area. Let's take a look. And before we actually take a look in the interior of the cargo area, of course, you've got that rear roof spoiler. It's going to help to keep that rear window clean as you're driving down the road, channeling the air over the window so it's not blowing dirt and dust and debris down here onto this rear glass. But when you do need to clean that, of course, you've got the rear wiper right there. Dual exhaust as well, and I mentioned the LED taillights, just kind of a tasteful design overall. The RS badge right here on the bottom right hand corner. And while this is not a power rear lift gate, it practically is, because it's just so easy to open. Once it kind of gets going, it's dampened, it's just going to go ahead and just go all the way up. You can maximize your cargo space back here by lowering these rear seats. Of course, they're going to lay nice and flat, give you plenty of space. But you also have a floor that has multiple positions. Depending on your situation, whatever your desires are, of course, you can change that into a couple of different places height-wise. And one thing that I think a lot of people are going to be in favor of here. What do you have under the floor? Well, it's not a tire repair kit. So many of you tell me how against those tire repair kits you are, and I don't blame you for that, because obviously, well, there's going to be situations where you potentially cannot repair a hole in a tire, depending on how big it is. In this particular case, you don't have to worry about that, because you have a spare tire right here under the floor, along with all the tires. All of the tools. Let's get that right. Started just putting the bloopers in just for the fun of it. All of the tools you need. Not the tires you need to change the tire, but the tools you need to change the tire.
Along with all the tires.
And a couple of points of interest about the rear seat area. Of course, you've got connectivity here with the 120 volt power outlet. Quite a few uses there, a multitasker, and USB connectivity as well. But a big advantage to that CVT, if there is somebody sitting here in the middle seat of the rear seat area, as you'll notice, there's no transmission tunnel that's kind of protruding up and making it a little bit less comfortable for the middle seat passenger here. That, I think, is a benefit. And how about here in the front seat? Well, the driver and passenger seats are nice and comfortable. Leather wrapped steering wheel. It is adjustable, tilt and telescopically, not power. It is manually adjustable, but still that functionality is there. And I'll give you a look at the instrument cluster and just the overall look of the front seat here as far as the different materials and everything. Everything seems to be really quite well done here. Doesn't seem as cheap as some of what I've seen in other vehicles. More connectivity, all the controls for the air conditioning. It is single zone. You don't have dual zone climate control here. But in an interior of this size, I don't think that's really needed. But one thing that I have to say is very high on my list of any vehicles is something you'll find here. You do have the auto stop start feature. However, when you turn it off, it stays off. If you want to use it, it's going to stay on, but often it's the other way around, where you have to turn it off every single time you hop into the vehicle if you so desire to do so. Not here. I think that's a plus. And as far as the infotainment screen goes, of course, you've got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, for you parents with teenage drivers. You've got teen driver mode, very easy to use. You just put in the code, all that good stuff. And the good thing about that, there's a lot of different features and functionality that offers, including the fact that the vehicle will not go into gear in teen driver mode until the driver's seat belt is on. And just a quick look around everything else, some of the different buttons and options, you can turn things on and off here. You also have wireless charging. And by the way, speaking of wireless, another big advantage, you do not need a USB cable for any functionality for your cell phone here. It's all wirelessly controlled through Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, even connecting to that through Bluetooth. Very simple, very seamless, very easy to use. And then of course you've got your multitasking lid, as I like to call it, for the console. When you open that up, there is a tray inside here that you can remove. A little bit more space underneath that. So if you want to buy and store a few Vehicle Visionary t-shirts, I'd say about 3 to 5 are definitely going to fit. All right, we're gonna hop out on the road for our test drive and see exactly what driving the Trailblazer is like. Think about it. You ease into the pedal. It's the best way to manage a smaller turbocharged engine. I am having absolutely no problem getting up to speed here. The speed limit on this road is 55 miles per hour. No problem, really. That's one thing about it. Just my racing background and my automotive background in general, that is a good tip, because if you just floor it, well, it doesn't quite respond the same way, at least not on this particular motor. There are some out there that actually have a way to pretty much alleviate what's known as turbo lag. So just a little tip if this is something you're interested in buying. Now, what about the overall ride quality? Obviously, that's very important. Comparing again to the Ford EcoSport, this Trailblazer rides so much better than the EcoSports I've driven in the past. And you know, I'm not trying to put the EcoSport down, but it just is what it is. And it's not unusual. You have a shorter wheelbase vehicle. They have big advantages as far as maneuverability and just being able to get around without a problem. But when it comes down to ride quality, well, sometimes that shorter wheelbase, well, you have to sacrifice a little bit. Not so much here. In fact, that was the very first thing I noticed last year when I did a 21 model of the Trailblazer. So driving down the road, nice and comfortable. The steering wheel is good and comfortable. You're right. The thing I'm noticing here, I really like the fact that you don't have a lot of play in the steering wheel. It's not sports car like, but I've driven a lot of other smaller SUVs and really just a lot of vehicles in general that have a good bit of play in the steering. You don't have really a lot here, just a tiny bit, but still very manageable, easy to drive, and overall, everything just seems to function very, very well overall, no matter what the situation is that you may find yourself driving in. And like I say, you've got front wheel drive, you've got all-wheel drive. Those are your options. So tell me down in the comments section, what do you think of the 22 model of the Chevrolet Trailblazer? And just because you never know who's reading the comments, what would you like to see added to future editions of the Chevrolet Trailblazer? If you're planning on buying one, tell me what color, trim level, all that good stuff. Special thanks to my friends at Red River Chevrolet for loaning me this model for the day, and all of you for being kind enough to give me the opportunity to give you a vision for your next vehicle. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out another of the videos that is on the screen right now, and I'll see you there.